Hey everyone, Griffinlobster. Welcome back to my top 100 games of all time. Here we are in part 7, is that right? 7. Today we're looking at numbers 40 through 31. So let's just jump right in, shall we? Coming in at number 40 is Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. So this is the culmination of the Uncharted series, a third-person action-adventure game series that I've been a huge fan of throughout the years. I think part of the reason for that is, I mean, the gameplay is good, right? And I think early on it was sort of trying to find its way as a combination of multiple different genres, sort of the gunplay from Gears of War, the platforming from Tomb Raider. But throughout the years, it's definitely taken on a flavor of its own and become its own thing. It really found its way throughout the course of this 4-game series. 5 if you include the Vita game, and I guess 6 if you include Lost Legacy. But Uncharted 4, for me, has the best story out of the series as well. It really brings all the characters together for like one last hurrah. Brings in a new character too, Nathan Drake's brother Sam. And that's pretty great, seeing the brother dynamic works really well. I think that developer Naughty Dog has found that they've gotten a lot of mileage out of the family dynamic. What with the brothers in Uncharted 4, the sort of father-son vibe that Sully and Drake have in Uncharted 3 especially, and in Uncharted 4, the marriage dynamic between Nathan and Elena just works really well too. And the gameplay is excellent, right? It brings back sort of that, like I said, Gears of War-esque cover-based third-person shooting, but there's also some run and gun if you want to do that as well. Tons of guns in this thing to choose from. Always fun to drop a weapon and try out a new one. They upgraded the stealth a little bit in this game as well. There's tall grass that you can hide in, sneak up on enemies, crack their necks. It's pretty good stuff. And obviously, one of the things that no one can fault this series for is it is just impeccably gorgeous. I think that this is one of the prettiest games I've ever played. You know, there might be some games out there that are technically just a little bit more graphically perfect, maybe, but this is about more than perfection. It's about art direction. It's about making the world look like a beautiful place, and that's, I mean, this takes place in the real world, or a version of the real world, and it just makes me kind of want to go out and see the world and see these beautiful places with my own two eyes. And for somebody who can't do that or won't do that, this is like the next best thing. It is that good looking. And look, it just capped off the series. I've become a huge fan of the Uncharted series throughout the years. I love the Indiana Jones world-trotting adventure aspect of it, and this is not going to be the last we hear from this series on this list. Promise you that. Coming in at number 39 is Persona 3. Hi, Yukari. Hi, Fuka. Hi, Akihiko. Hi, Shinjiro. Hi, Mitsuru. Hi, Junpei. Hi, Koromaru. Hi, Ken. Hi, Igus. Hi, unnamed protagonist. That was a lot to get through. So back in 2016, I was relatively convinced that there was just not going to be a modern Japanese RPG that I was going to find anything to connect with basically ever again. I had tried several times with a modern RPG. Probably the most recent Japanese RPG I had seen the credits of was probably like Mario and Luigi Partners in Time or something, and that barely even counts, right? When I'm talking Japanese RPG, well, you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm talking about like an anime game, okay? You know, I tried Final Fantasy 13, and I mean, that game has other problems too, but I put in, I don't know, probably close to a dozen to 15 hours into that game, and it just didn't grab me. I played Ni no Kuni for a feverish opening session of about 2.5 to 3 hours, and I was like, this game's pretty cute, pretty neat, put it down, never played it again. And I put dozens of hours into Xenoblade Chronicles. I think that's the game that got the closest. It really sort of grabbed me with its gameplay and its unique world, but eventually it just sort of fell by the wayside and I forgot about it. But I'm always on the lookout for trying something new, and so I decided to give Persona 3 a shot. I played it on PSP, which I think actually had a lot to do with me being able to sort of get into the game, because having it portable, having it be able to play it just about anywhere, sort of get you over that long learning, that very shallow learning curve that Japanese RPGs tend to have near the beginning, where it really is slow to get you into the action. But once it hooked me, boy, let me tell you, I sunk 120 hours into Persona 3 roughly before beating it. I did just about almost everything you could do, minus some really late game content that I thought was sort of unfairly difficult and not very fun. But I don't. What is it about the Persona games that are so appealing to me? I think it has something to do with there's this very attractive gameplay loop. Right? So during the day, you are a high school student. You go to class. You hang out with friends. You maybe get a part-time job, work that a little bit. And as you grow closer to people, you develop these social links, is what the game calls them. And you rank up these social links depending on the more you hang out with these people, the more you connect with these people. Occasionally, you know, with the girls, how you romance these people. And that sort of feeds into the nighttime gameplay. So at night, you have the option to explore this otherworldly tower into the dark clouds called Tartarus. And that's basically just a straight-up dungeon-crawling RPG right there, turn-based, classic as all get out. And you're fighting these shadows, and you fight them using these aspects of your personality that sort of personify as monsters called persona. Think like super action anime Pokemon is kind of what they're like. I mean, you even collect them like Pokemon. You don't evolve them, but you can fuse them together to make new ones, stuff like that. And the relationships that you forge during the daytime feeds into how powerful your persona can be in the nighttime. And then what personas you have in the nighttime feeds back into how effectively you can create more social links during the day. And there's this gameplay loop that just keeps on going. And it's just crazily addictive. The dungeon crawling RPG aspect is pretty basic, pretty straightforward. No random encounters, which always kind of gets my goat. You can see the enemies coming. And the dungeons are sort of randomly generated, so that always leads to interesting room combinations. And it's pretty simple, right? But there's something undeniably endearing. Also, I love the characters in this thing, love the music in this thing. The story is excellent. It is pretty dark, too. It takes you to some pretty dark places, surprisingly. And it just felt like such a journey. When I was finished with this game, it just felt like, wow, this game took me places, and I deeply value that experience. I deeply value that it made me a believer in JRPGs, made me a believer in myself that I could still find enjoyment in this genre. So why Persona 3 specifically? Well, I'm still in the middle of Persona 4, actually, as we speak, as I'm recording this video. I have roughly a little over 100 hours in it right now. And I'm almost done, but I feel like I haven't seen the complete picture enough to know for sure whether or not I like it better than Persona 3 or not. So, and I haven't played Persona 5 yet. I'll probably get to that eventually. They're huge games, so you really have to carve out a lot of time to get to them. I own Persona 5, actually on the Collector's Edition, because that's how sure I was in the series after playing Persona 3. But anyway, I'm kind of going on for a while about it. Persona 3, very, very good. I am indebted to it for making me a believer again. Alright, so 38 is God of War. I put God of War's numbers 1 and 2, sort of cheated the list, put them together at spot number 23 on my list in 2008. But those were the original games on PlayStation 2. I would like to point out here that this spot, number 38, God of War, goes to God of War 2018, the one that just came out this year. I think this game maybe owes a lot of its style and, or at least just the structure, the bone structure of its gameplay to the Uncharted series. I think it took a lot of notes out of Uncharted's book there, which is fine because the gameplay works really, really well this way. It works in a way that I didn't necessarily think it would. It's mostly melee combat as opposed to guns, obviously, and the camera sticks pretty close to Kratos' back the whole time, but it still feels really good. You get these arrow prompts to tell you if a enemy off-screen is sending an attack your way, and there's different arrows that signify different kinds of attacks. And the gameplay is great. The game is completely gorgeous. I think, for me right now, this might be my favorite looking game, just kind of flat out. Like, I wasn't sure of it maybe for the first couple of hours playing it. I was like, this world looks really great. I like the art direction a lot. I like, obviously, the fact that it's very, very beautiful just on a graphical fidelity standpoint. But the deeper you get into this game, the more flavor you feel in this game world. The first time you see the World Serpent, you're like, wow, that is incredible. The first time you go to Alfheim, which is this alternate dimension where elves live, it's just zany and beautiful and strange and twisted in a very interesting way. It's just a game you want to look at the whole time. You know, it's just a game that's just beautiful to look at. But I think the way the game really connects with me is in its story. And once again, they go for that family aspect. It's a father and son story here. Kratos and his son Atreus, as they go on a very simple mission to go up to a mountain and sprinkle Atreus's recently deceased mother's ashes. And the crazy stuff that happens along the way that Kratos can't help but find himself getting mixed up in whatever pantheon of gods he happens to be meddling with this time. This time it's Norse mythology. Next game, who knows? Apparently they're planning 7 more of these, or 7 total, so 6 more maybe. Look, bring it on, because if you can bring emotion like this and trueness of character like this, then I will follow you to the ends of the earth. God of War 2018 is the clear forerunner for me for Game of the Year this year, and admittedly putting it this high is maybe a little bit of a recency bias, but I feel like I believe myself completely when I say that I think this game is going to stand the test of time and really stick out in my memory as being sort of a landmark game in terms of gameplay and graphics and definitely emotional story. There you go. God of War 2018. Coming in at 37 is Super Smash Bros. Melee. I put Brawl on the list at 38 in 2008, which was a mistake. I think that game had probably just come out or come out recently. But actually, it's been probably about a year since that game came out when I made the list. In any case, I was in love with Brawl at that point because I was playing with my friends, or I had played a lot with my friends. It was a bonding experience for me and my relatively new college friends. We all huddled around my admittedly pretty small TV and smashed it out, and it was great. It felt like old times, and I value that experience still. But I think at the end of the day now, at the end of 10 years, when I can stand back and sort of regard the series as a whole, it's clear to me that Melee is the winner. It doesn't have technically the largest roster, or technically the most stages, or technically the most game modes, but I do think that it feels the best to play. Still, after all these years, I feel like the mechanics were just that perfect mix. Then it didn't have the huge game-swinging stuff like the Smash Ball, like the Ultimate Smash Balls, Ultra Smash, what do they call them? You know what I'm talking about. The balls you break and give you the ridiculous board clear move. Admittedly, you can turn those off, right? But it just felt like the right balance. But that's not really why it's on this list. It's on this list for nostalgia. Like most of the other games on this list, I just smashed the most amount of time into Melee out of any of the games. GameCube came out just like in the middle of my high school life, and it was like the perfect time for it. Bringing friends over and playing Smash Brothers, and I cannot tell you how many times that I played through adventure mode just by myself, tried to do it with every character. I loved the adventure mode in this. I loved classic mode in this. I even liked the home run challenge. Was a lot of fun. I probably played every game mode on this game. I tried to get all the little trophies. I read the description of all the trophies. I just sucked every last bit of enjoyment I could out of this. I just squeezed it. I got every drop of juice out of it. And to enjoy a game that much, that thoroughly, means that absolutely it needs to be my favorite out of the series. So Smash Bros. Melee, I'll never forget it. Will Ultimate be as good? I mean, I'm sure it'll be technically the best, but we'll see. We'll see how I feel about it once that game comes out. I am excited for it, of course. So coming in at 36 is The Last of Us. This is the second Naughty Dog game on this list, and this is a lot of people's favorite Naughty Dog game, and I don't blame them for it. It is a post-apocalyptic sort of zombie-type game where you can take control of character Joel, and you are tasked with delivering this young girl named Ellie into the hands of a paramilitary organization called the Fireflies, who are kind of these anti-government, or they're really trying to look for and discover a cure, really solve the problem, as opposed to the government, the military, just trying to shut everyone down, quarantining everyone off. That's how they decided to deal with it. But the Fireflies sort of are the last spark of hope. and you are on this mission, and you are fighting through zombies and fighting through marauding evil humans too. But I think one of the things that makes this game so great, I mean, the gameplay is great, the graphics are obviously amazing, I like the characters a lot, the voice acting is amazing, some of my favorite voice acting in any game. But I think one of the things that really makes this game click so well is the way that it makes you feel so brutal and like such a participant in the brutality of this world, and not like you're rising above it. You don't feel like a hero playing this game, not really. You feel like an animal. You pull off these ridiculously brutal, visceral attacks on other living humans, you know? It's not just fighting zombies. And I think as you realize how many people you have killed as Joel, how many people Joel has killed, you sort of realize that this atmosphere of sheer violence and raw, bestial survival is a form of zombification itself. And when that clicks for me, and it really clicked for me, especially during the game's ending moments, where you have this, where one of the last things that you do as a character just feels like so wrong, but you totally understand, you totally get where Joel's coming from, you realize that you have not been fighting for the greater good this whole time. You've been fighting for yourself. And it's not necessarily a game that makes you feel good, but it is a game that is important, that tells an important story, that sheds light on an important aspect of the human condition. And it's just a great game to play too. So some people don't really like the gameplay so much. I understand that, but I think just in terms of the world that it opens up to you, the way it makes you look at the world is special. So Last of Us holds its place in my heart, for sure. Coming in at number 35, hey, another Zelda game, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. This is the first game on the list that has actually risen in terms of ranking. This was 42 on my list of 50, and it has risen to 35, and I think it's just because it's stood the test of time. I think a lot of it has to do with the graphics, which were maligned by some people at the time as being kiddish and overly simple, but I think that cartoony aspect has sort of lent it a timelessness that I'm not sure many people foresaw back then. But The Wind Waker, it's just another great Zelda game. The big hook here being that the world is way spread out. There's little islands dotted throughout the Great Sea. And for something that feels mostly like empty space, like the Great Sea is just a lot of sailing, it still feels like you're going on a grand adventure. You're sailing for long periods of time. And I think the fact that it takes a while to sail to where you're trying to go actually helps the game a little bit. It makes the world feel very spread out and distant. The fact that there's like this tiny island that only maybe like 30 people live on, and that's it. You're thinking like, man, what's the gross population of this world? This is the dregs. And you discover that Hyrule has long been sunk underneath the ocean about halfway through the game. And that opens up a whole second aspect to the story. And I think it's just, it feels 100% its own entity within the recognizable and somewhat admittedly, if you take a look at the whole game mechanics, samey world of the Legend of Zelda series. And I think for that reason, it remains highly valuable to this day. Wind Waker is great. I love it. Check out the HD version if you haven't. It's even prettier than the original. So there you go. Coming in at number 34 is Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door for GameCube. I did not put this on the list in 2008 because I was an idiot. Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door is a hilarious, beautiful, and incredibly fun and charming little RPG. It is a sequel to Paper Mario, obviously, on the Nintendo 64. A game that I think I probably have a little bit more nostalgic feelings for. But I now have a lot of nostalgia for Thousand Year Door because I feel as if it is, from a technical standpoint, the perfect execution of the Paper Mario idea. They've kind of shifted away from that a little bit. It started with Super Paper Mario, which went for more of a platformer vibe. And then you have Sticker Star and Color Splash, which most people agree have just more or less completely abandoned what made Paper Mario great to begin with. The interesting characters, the unique approach to game world, the different spin on classic RPG tropes. It's kind of going for a more really simple, straightforward vibe that I don't think many people like very much. And that's a shame. But luckily this game, Thousand Year Door, will always be there for us to return to, with its rogues gallery of strange characters and beautiful locations that take advantage of the art style and make them stand out in terms of other game areas from other games. I still remember the first time I saw the Bogley Woods, which is this monochromatic land of trees and small, cute little insects. Just a weird but immediately endearing and charming world. And every chapter feels like you're taking. It feels like you're just on a journey where the game designers got to be as creative as they wanted to be. And I'm seeing this. I've seen this sort of runaway creativity in other Mario franchises like Super Mario Odyssey. They went crazy on the creativity just from last year. And I want to see them apply that to this again because there's so many cool ideas in this game. And so I ultimately just feel a little sad whenever I think about Thousand Year Door. But then I remember all the good times I had with it and all the good times I can still have with it. But I have to pull my GameCube out of storage because Nintendo doesn't like GameCube for whatever reason. But whatever. Thousand Year Door, it's just great. Coming in at number 33 is The Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion. This was number 32. It just dropped one spot. That was 32 on my list in 2008. Look, everything I said about Morrowind, just the same here, but tenfold. This was really my first Elder Scrolls game that really drew me in and sucked my time up. And there's something with these Elder Scrolls games. They just capture something that eats my time away and grabs my attention and pulls me into their world like no other game series really has managed to do effectively. When I am in an Elder Scrolls game, I am all in, 100% in. And I don't really know what it is. I think it has to do with the fantasy tropes are immediately recognizable. The fact that the world is open to you right from the offset. You can go in any direction you'd like to go. And I mean, I just don't really need to say a whole lot more for games like this. I mean, it's just great, right? It's just great. Okay, so coming in at number 30, I will talk about more Elder Scrolls later, though, of course, because there's still one game that I like just a little bit better. You can probably guess what it is. Okay, so coming in at 32 is Pokemon, Red and Blue version. This is another casualty from my top 10. It was number 10 on my list in 2008. I think it's fallen a little bit. That was definitely a nostalgia pick, and I still agree with including it on the list here at number 32, but 10 seems a little melodramatic, I think. In any case, Pokemon Red and Blue, it was my first handheld game. When I got my Game Boy Color, which was my first handheld, I got Pokemon. Because it was what all my friends had, is what everyone was talking about. And I would just play it for hours. I would run the batteries in that thing from full to nil in a sitting or two. There is just something undeniably charming and engaging about catching Pokemon, these little fun, cute little fur balls that you get to train and make just a little bit better, incrementally better. They learn a new move, and then they evolve, and that's super exciting. You get to see what they evolve into, a slightly maybe less cute, but more powerful and more intimidating version of what they were. Maybe they evolve again. Oh, wow, you found a Pokemon you've been wanting to catch for so long. Oh, you almost got him, he got away, let's try to find him again. You know, it just filling out your Pokedex, battling monsters, battling other trainers, and progressing through that world, and that just does that little one step at a time, just getting a little bit better. It's just the reason that RPGs are attractive as a genre at all is 100% boiled down to its molten core in the Pokemon games. They're just basically, essentially appealing. And I really don't feel like I need to defend it. Obviously, Red and Blue, it's here for nostalgia purposes. I do like the modern Pokemon games. None of them are going to show up on this list, though, just because, you know, I like them, but I don't think I will ever like a Pokemon game as much as I liked Red and Blue back when I was a kid. In the back of my car, in my basement, back of my parents' car, or in my basement, anywhere. Anywhere at all, playing Pokemon. I can't tell you how much time I had with it or how much fun I had with it. So there you go. And rounding out today's video, coming in at number 31 is Hearthstone. Hearthstone is a game that, it's a collectible card game that's online only. This is my pick for my personal favorite Blizzard game, at least just in terms of how much time I've put into it, if nothing else. How much money I've put into it, if nothing else. Although, I don't know, if you add it all up... No, definitely I've put more money into this than into World of Warcraft. That's sad. Look, it's a collectible card game, and it's not going to be for everyone, right? Some people just don't like card games. For some people, it's just too simple. For some people, they don't see the point of playing a card game online with nothing physical to touch. But when I was in high school, I was really into Yu-Gi-Oh! And really into Magic the Gathering. And part of the reason that it was so easy to get into those games back then is because I always had somebody around to play them with, to try to tech my deck against. So I know that he runs dragons in his deck, so I know what cards to play in mine. And trying to make themed decks, and maybe I try a green-red deck in Magic the Gathering. Didn't like that so much. Maybe an all-green. See if I can try that out. But once you leave high school, or you're not around friends all the time who play the same things you do, like the same things you do, it becomes much harder to play Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! I've been talking for too long, apparently. But with Hearthstone, there's always somebody to play. And I like the Warcraft flavor of it. It brings me back to my time in World of Warcraft. I like the fact that there's different classes that you can play that have access to different specific cards that are just for them, that they have a flavor that fits that class for people who are fans of the Warcraft games. Look, it's just a fun game. Blizzard is unbelievable, possibly even the best at just making a game that is colorful and pleasing to play. Just the sounds, the little graphic thing, little toys on the battlefield when you're not doing anything. You can just click on something and some little goofy thing happens. Just to bide your time, little time wasters. Stuff to do while you're thinking about what play to make. There's some depth of strategy here, and there's also a lot of luck. And I think there have been some pretty harsh critiques of Hearthstone as a game itself, as mechanically, that hold a lot of water, and that I'm not going to argue with for a second. But just for me, for my money, I mean, I log into Hearthstone almost every day, play a few games, just because it's fun. It's a way to relax, and it brings me back to that place that I miss from my high school days when I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering. So there you go, Hearthstone at number 31. And that is numbers 40 through 31. I kind of talked for a long time in this video. I hope you didn't fall asleep. Hope you managed to take away something useful from all of that. And so I'll catch you next time when we jump into the top 30. And until then, you're a beautiful person, I think. I can't really see you.